when the mind refuses to rest. There are days when you haven't done anything physically exhausting, yet you still feel drained. Not because your body is tired, but because your mind has never truly rested. Thoughts keep flowing, one after another. Worries about the future, regrets from the past, and endless questions with no clear answers. Am I on the right path? Why am I like this? What if something goes wrong? You try to stop thinking, but the more you try, the louder your mind becomes. It's like being in a small room, filled with hundreds of voices speaking at once. No off switch, no silence. Many people believe that to find peace, they must eliminate thoughts. But the more you try to eliminate them, the stronger they return. You begin to feel exhausted with yourself. You start to wonder, why can others feel peaceful, but I can't? The truth is, the problem is not that you think too much. It's how you relate to your thoughts. You are trying to control them, analyze them, solve everything inside your mind, while the mind itself was never designed to stay still. It's like a flowing river. The more you try to block it, the stronger and more turbulent it becomes. And eventually, you get carried away by that current. Not because it's too powerful, but because you are resisting it. But what if there is another way? A way not to stop thinking, but to understand it. Not to control, but to let go. Perhaps peace is not found in an empty mind, but in no longer being controlled by it. And that journey begins with something very simple: learning to watch your thoughts, as if watching a river flow by. The story of the empty boat. There is an old story often told in the teachings of mindfulness. A man once sat quietly in a small boat, floating in the middle of a calm river. The water was still, the air was peaceful, and for a moment, his mind began to settle. But suddenly, another boat drifted straight toward him and crashed into his side. At once, anger rose inside him. His body tensed. His thoughts flared up. Who is so careless? Why would someone disturb my peace like this? He turned quickly, ready to shout, ready to blame. But when he looked closer, he realized something unexpected. The boat was empty. No one was there. No one had caused it on purpose. It was simply drifting with the current. And in that instant, his anger disappeared. Not because the situation changed, but because his interpretation did. Before, he believed, someone did this to me. But now, there was no one to blame. And so, the anger had nowhere to stay. Our thoughts are often like that empty boat. They appear suddenly, collide with our awareness, and create waves inside us. But most of the time, they are not personal. They are not intentional. They are simply passing events in the mind. Yet we give them meaning. We believe them. We react to them. We build stories around them. And in doing so, we create our own suffering. A simple thought arises, and we turn it into fear. A passing idea appears, and we turn it into anxiety. But what if we could see those thoughts as nothing more than an empty boat? Something that comes and goes, without an owner, without intention. Then perhaps we would no longer need to fight them. We would no longer need to defend ourselves against something that was never truly attacking us. And slowly, the river of the mind would return to stillness. The story of the young monk Tashi and the stream. In a quiet mountain monastery, there lived a young monk named Tashi. He was sincere, disciplined, and deeply devoted to his spiritual path. Every day, he meditated for hours, followed every teaching carefully, and tried his best to calm his mind. But inside, his thoughts never stopped. No matter how long he sat, his mind kept wandering. From questions about his purpose, to doubts about his progress, to fears that he was doing something wrong. The more I try to be still, the more restless I become, he once confessed. Feeling frustrated and lost, Tashi went to his teacher, an old master named Lama Rinchen. "Master," he said softly, "I cannot control my thoughts. They keep coming, again and again. No matter what I do, my mind never becomes quiet." The master listened calmly, then smiled gently. The next morning, before sunrise, he asked Tashi to follow him. They walked in silence until they reached a small flowing stream. The water moved steadily, clear and continuous, never stopping for even a moment. "Sit here," the master said. Tashi sat beside the stream, watching the water flow. "Tell me," the master asked, "can you stop the stream?" Tashi shook his head. "No, Master, it just keeps flowing." The master nodded. "Your mind is the same." Tashi looked confused. "If you try to stop the water, you will only disturb it." The master continued. "But if you simply sit and watch, you will begin to understand its nature." He then gave Tashi a simple instruction. "Close your eyes and imagine each thought as a leaf floating on this stream. Do not chase the leaf. Do not hold onto it. Just watch it pass." At first, Tashi struggled. Thoughts kept coming, faster than he expected. Some leaves moved slowly. Some rushed past. Some lingered longer than others. He felt the urge to grab them, to analyze them, to follow them. But he remembered the instruction and let them go. Again and again. Slowly, something began to change. The thoughts were still there, but they no longer pulled him away. They came, and they passed, without effort, without resistance. For the first time, Tashi realized peace was not about having no thoughts, but about not being carried away by them. When he opened his eyes, the stream was still flowing, just as before. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. His mind was lighter, softer, free, and in that quiet moment, he finally understood. The mind, like the stream, was never meant to be stopped, only to be observed. Understanding is the beginning, but transformation comes through practice. If thoughts are like a flowing river, then your role is not to stop the water, but to learn how to sit peacefully on the shore. Here are simple ways to begin. 1. Observe your thoughts like clouds in the sky. Take a few minutes each day. Sit quietly and close your eyes. Imagine your mind as a vast open sky, and each thought as a cloud passing through. Some clouds are dark, some are light, some move quickly, others linger, but none of them stay forever. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to push them away. Just watch, and slowly, you will realize you are not the clouds. You are the sky. 2. Gently remind yourself, this is just a thought. When you notice yourself getting lost in a loop of overthinking, pause for a moment, take a soft breath, and quietly say to yourself, this is just a thought. It will pass. Not every thought is truth. Not every thought needs your attention. Sometimes, a thought is just a passing event, like a leaf drifting on water. 3. Let go of the need to control everything. Much of our suffering does not come from thoughts themselves, but from our attempt to control them. We want clarity immediately. We want answers right away. We want peace on demand. But the mind doesn't work that way. The more you try to control it, the more resistance you create. Instead, allow things to be as they are. Let thoughts come. Let them go. Trust that not everything needs to be solved right now. 4. Return to the present moment. Whenever your mind feels overwhelmed, bring your attention back to something simple and real. Your breath, the feeling of your hands, the sound around you. The present moment is always quieter than the stories in your head, and each time you return to it, you take one step closer to inner peace, the freedom beyond overthinking. Overthinking is not your enemy. It is simply a habit, a pattern your mind has learned over time. And like any habit, it can be gently unlearned. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You don't need to silence your mind. You only need to change the way you relate to them. When you stop chasing, stop resisting, stop attaching, something beautiful begins to happen. Your mind becomes lighter, your heart becomes calmer, and a quiet space opens within you. A space where thoughts can come and go without disturbing your peace. And in that space, you discover something you've been searching for all along. Not a life without thoughts, but a mind that is finally free.